Hey everyone, welcome to Weekly Game Night channel. My name is Adam and today we are diving into an exciting new game, Cosmic Conquest, designed by Rich Kiley, Brady Wiggins, Jordan Brown, Chris Bramett and Mark Johnson. Wow, a lot of guys. And this game was published by Rising Empire Studios, and this video is also sponsored by Rising Empire Studios, and I'm excited to show you how to play this spacefaring strategy game where combat, exploration and conquest collide. Cosmic Conquest is currently available on Gamefound, so if you are interested in backing the game, now is the perfect time. Today I will be showcasing you the standard edition of the game, which comes with basic components like this acrylic hero standees over here, but if you are looking for something even more epic, like plastic miniatures, upgraded resources and other awesome additions, there are higher tiers available on Gamefound, ink washed miniatures included. So, in this video I will show you the game and you will learn how to play Cosmic Conquest, and I would really appreciate you hitting those thumbs up buttons or even subscribing to Weekly Game Night. This helps a lot. Thanks. So, without further ado, let's check out Cosmic Conquest. Welcome to Cosmic Conquest, a thrilling combat strategy board game from Rising Empire Studios. Set in the vast universe of the Alpha Clash series, this game takes you on a journey through space where planets hold ancient secrets and powerful beings battle for control over the galaxy. In Cosmic Conquest, 2 to 6 players each draft a team of 3 unique characters called Contenders, divided into 3 powerful roles: Sentinels, Destroyers and Saviors. Each contender has 2 sides: Unrivaled, which features their basic abilities and lore, and Awakened, their powered-up version with enhanced abilities. With their own strengths and abilities, team composition is a key element of your strategy. The game board is built from modular planet tiles, making every session different. Players move their teams across the galaxy, conquering planets, engaging in tactical combat and collecting resources, all while aiming to score the most Gambit points to win. Gameplay in Cosmic Conquest combines dice rolling, strategic movement and card management with fast-paced and dynamic combat at its core. As you conquer planets and win battles, you will collect Gambit points, the key to victory. The game also features multiple game modes, including team play, zone control, king of the hill and domination. But in this video, I will be showing you how to play free-for-all mode. So let's dive into the action. Cosmic Conquest is all about combat, strategy and, no surprise, conquest. In this game, players win by capturing planets and outmaneuvering their opponents in battle. In the free-for-all mode, the first player to reach 20 Gambit points triggers the endgame, after which final scoring will determine the ultimate victor. Let's begin the setup for Cosmic Conquest. First, shuffle and randomly place the planet tiles in the center of the table, forming a 3x3 grid. Next, deal each player 3 contenders. These powerful warriors can either be drafted or dealt randomly. Regardless of the method, ensure that each player has 1 sentinel, 1 savior and 1 destroyer, and set each contender's health to 20. Now hand out a Gambit point card and player guide to each player and distribute 10 experience points as well. To prepare the Armory aka Market, draw 5 cards and place them face up. This will be available for players to buy later. Place the attack and defense dice near the play area and set the turn timer dice to 10. Next, choose a starting player. In that order, each player can perform pre-game actions, awaken one of their contenders for 5 experience points, recycle the market, or buy any number of Armory cards. Don't worry, I will explain what these actions mean later in the video. Finally, beginning with the first player, each player will place their contenders in their team base holder and position them on a planet of their choice. And that's it, your setup is complete and your table should now look something like this. Before we dive into the round overview, let's go over a few key concepts, starting with the contenders. Each contender has two sides, Unrivaled and Awakened. On the Unrivaled side, you will see their class, a single passive ability used during combat, their current health, and some backstory, home planet, and lore. The Awakened side offers much more. In addition to their passive ability, contenders gain two new powers, a combat action ability and a support action ability, each with its own cooldown tracker. Once you use these abilities, you will have to wait the indicated number of rounds before they are available again. Throughout the game, you will move across planets to earn victory points and unlock passive abilities. Each planet has its own conditions for taking control, either by conquering if no other player controls it, or overthrowing if it's controlled by other player. Once you seize control of a planet, you will receive the corresponding planet card, which grants a passive ability shown on both the card and the planet tile itself. As you play, you will have access to 4 types of cards, each with its own impact on the game: non-combat action, combat action, support action, and weapon card. Non-combat action cards can be played as a free action during the action phase outside of combat. Combat action cards are used only in combat but can only be played by the attacking player. Support action cards are also played during combat but can be used by both attacker and the defender. Both combat and support action cards have a limit of 2 per combat. Weapon cards equip your contenders with new abilities. Once bought, you can attach a weapon to a contender without one. However, if that contender is defeated, the weapon card is discarded. As you play, you will accumulate experience points and Gambit points. Experience points are spendable resource gained passively or through actions like conquering planets or engaging in combat. Gambit points are your victory points earned through a variety of actions: conquering planets, dealing damage, restoring health, and defeating opposing contenders. The first player to reach 20 Gambit points triggers the endgame. And now that we've covered the basics, let's dive into the structure of a game round. Each player will take their turn in full before passing play to the next. A player's turn is divided into 5 phases: recovery, armory, action, combat, and conquest. Start the recovery phase by reducing the cooldowns of your contenders' abilities by 1. After that, gain 2 experience points, then resolve any effects or abilities that trigger in this phase. At this point, you can awaken one of your contenders by paying 5 experience points and flipping the card to its awakened side. Keep in mind that awakening resets all cooldowns to 0, but the contender's health remains unchanged. In the Armory phase, players can purchase any number of cards from the market, paying the experience cost shown in the upper left corner of each card. For 2 experience points, you can recycle the market, discarding all available cards and drawing 5 new ones. When you buy a weapon card, immediately attach it to one of your contenders. Action cards, on the other hand, go into your hand for later use. If the Armory deck runs out of cards, simply reshuffle the discard pile to form a new deck. Finally, resolve any abilities from contenders, weapons, or planets that reference the Armory phase. Next up is the action phase, where players can perform up to 2 actions in any combination of move and combat. Additionally, there is a special free action called Traverse that you can use once per turn. To move, simply advance your unit to any adjacent planet. Keep in mind, movement is restricted to orthogonal directions, meaning diagonal moves aren't allowed. Alternatively, you can move to any planet that you already control, regardless of its position on the board. Once per turn, players can perform a Traverse, a special action that lets you move to any planet by spending 2 experience points. Traverse is a free action, meaning it doesn't count against your 2 action limit. Now let's focus on the combat. If your unit occupies the same planet as an opponent's unit, you can initiate a battle. First, both players involved in the combat will receive 1 experience point. Combat is divided into 6 steps. Step 1. Target. The attacking player chooses one of their contenders to initiate the attack, and one opposing contender. In this case, Windhoof will clash with Cadavros. Step 2. Roll. Both players roll their dice. The attacker rolls 6 attack red dice, while the defender rolls 5 defense blue dice. Step 3. Reroll. Now, the attacking player may choose to reroll any number of dice, followed by the defender. After rerolls, the final results are 1 sword and 4 shields for the defender, and 7 swords and 1 shield for the attacker. Step 4. Defender support action. The defending player can now perform up to 2 support actions, which could be a mix of support combat cards or their contender support abilities, provided the ability's cooldown is at 0. In this case, the defender plays the card Decay, causing the attacker's contender to lose 2 health and 2 experience points. As a result, Anzudak is immediately defeated and is flipped to its unrivaled side with its health set to 15. The defender earns 2 Gambit points for defeating the awakened contender. Step 5. Attacker combat and support action. Now the attacker can perform any combination of 2 combat or support actions. This can come from Armory Cards or their contender's combat or support abilities. Please note that only the contender engaged in combat can activate their combat ability. In this case, the attacker plays Technological Symmetry, a combat action card, adding 3 more swords and shields to their final combat value. Step 6. Resolve damage. After all dice rolls and abilities have been resolved, both players will now calculate their final combat value. This is done by adding up the number of swords for attack and shields for defense. Damage is dealt simultaneously by subtracting the number of shields from the number of swords. Mark the received damage by adjusting the health of the contenders. If you manage to deal 5 or more damage, you earn 1 Gambit point. Additionally, if you restore 6 health over the course of the battle using special abilities, you also gain 1 Gambit point. If any contender's health is reduced to 0, that contender is now defeated. Flip it to its unrivaled side and reset its health to 15. If there was a weapon card attached to the contender, discard it. The player who dealt the final blow earns 1 Gambit point for defeating an unrivaled contender and 2 Gambit points for defeating an awakened contender. In this case, the defender dealt no damage as they only generated 3 swords, which were blocked by the attacker's 4 shields. The attacker, on the other hand, generated 11 swords, and after subtracting the defender's 3 shields, 8 damage was dealt to Cadavros, reducing its health to 0 and defeating it. Cadavros is flipped to its unrivaled side and its health is reset to 15. Additionally, the attacker earns 1 Gambit point from their shoulder-mounted rocket weapon card. Overall, the attacker gained 4 Gambit points, 2 for defeating an awakened contender, 1 for dealing 5+ damage, and 1 for the special weapon ability. Finally, we have the Conquest phase, where players can attempt to take control of the planet their unit is currently on. To take control of a planet, you will need to meet the conditions for either conquering if the planet is unclaimed or overthrowing it if another player already controls it. Successfully conquering a planet rewards you with 2 Gambit points and 1 experience point. If you overthrow another player's control, you will earn 1 Gambit point and 1 experience point. Once you have taken control of a planet, you will receive the corresponding planet card, which grants you new ability that you can now use. After completing all 5 phases, it's time for the next player to take their turn. Once all players have taken their turns, the next game round begins. And once a player reaches 20 Gambit points, or after the 10th round, it's time for the final scoring. Players will add additional Gambit points to the ones they have collected during the game, based on a few factors. 1 Gambit point for each awakened contender you control, 1 Gambit point for each planet under your control, 1 Gambit point for each home planet you control. These are listed on the unrivaled side of your contenders, 1 Gambit point for every 5 unspent experience points you have, and 1 Gambit point for the total experience points value of the Armory cards in your hand. The player with the most Gambit points wins the game. In case of a tie, you can determine the winner by comparing the number of controlled planets, awakened contenders, available experience points, and total weapons. And this is how you play Cosmic Conquest. Make sure to check out Gamefound campaign for all the tiers and more info about the game. Thanks for watching and see you next time.